What an amazing end to the week if you are prepared for this. I am Jane Galena, also known as AirplaneJane, and you guys follow me. If you are new to following me, you can follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and my website, cjanetrade.com. You can also always email me if you guys ever have any questions at jane@cjanetrade.com or jane@thedarkpools.com. And you guys might be wondering, hey, what is the dark pools, right? Well, the dark pools are going to be where the massive hedge funds go ahead and place their trades. I do teach people weekly at the training pit, which is at thedarkpools.com. If you guys want to go ahead and learn all about that, I also do generate my watch list live on Ticker Talker. Every morning that the market is open, 8:15, I'm on my channel breaking it down for you guys and creating that watch list with levels for you guys to check out. Here's a sample of it. So you can see, hey, I've got support and resistance. If it is broken, you know what? Even though it's a potential long, it could be a short for the day. Sure enough, Apple performed very nicely to the downside today. Came all the way down to 359. Actually, it came down further, I believe. Came down to a low today of 355. So you can watch these levels and you guys can profit. If you really want to learn and reset your trading around the dark pools, come on over and check us out at the training pit. Hello, Asif, how are you? VXRT, you know what? It is a low market cap. It's probably, Asif, due to the fact that it went ahead and it gapped up high today. And many times we see the gap and drop scenario. So let's go ahead and look at the SPY for today. We had a big day. Yesterday, we did have the announcement of the stress test for the banks. What does that mean? So the stress test for the banks was developed after 2008 with the big financial crisis that happened. It was a way for the Fed to go ahead and look at the books of the banks so they could go ahead and assess if economic scenarios would cause the bank to limit the amount that they would be paying out in dividends, as well as the amount of share buybacks and the amount that they could go ahead and lend out to their customers. So they take different scenarios. They take pandemics, they take market crashes, they take unemployment up to 10, 20%, and they go ahead and assess how the banks are going to fare. Well, the results came out last night. They said, hey, we are going to go ahead and limit certain stocks with dividends and share buyback for third quarter. That in turn caused a pullback because it's saying, hey, the financial health of our banks in this country are not at prime optimal scenario, right? So that's a little bit more of an indication that the economic state of the country is hurting. It's not as its prime, much like the market is showing, right? So the market has been propped up two ways, with the cutting rates by the Fed and also buying back of the government-backed bonds. So right now, looking at the SPY, let me remove this red line. If you guys notice, I was able to get rid of all of those orange lines. I discovered how to hide them. It was a great thing. So very excited about that. All right, so today it's now our test. Again, we've got a bit of the H scenario going on, right? So we came down, tested the 200 simple moving average. Whoop, we bounced. And today is our third test this week. The third test. Are there as many buyers there? Where we close today could be very influential. When we go back on a weekly chart, let's go ahead and look at it on a weekly chart. You'll see that H will be a little bit more scrunched up because it will be, look at that nice H right there, right? So many times that H will end up leading down like this, right? So potentially our next test, if we break this 200 simple moving average, which is also the 50 simple moving average on the weekly, could be down further, down here to that 290 area, we might come down and test even all the way down here to 280. There is that potential to test this box. Again, for 3 weeks, we had a consolidation range between 280 to 294, and we went above it. So that led me to be more bullish, right? Now we've had a consolidation box up here. We're below that one. Consolidation box, we're below that one. We're having an inside week right now. If we do close this week below last week, the low of last week was 296.74. If we go ahead and we close below that, watch out. I think we will very quickly test the 290 area and then potentially on down to 280. If we break that even down to this 276 area, we might see that that's going to be tested in the next couple of weeks. If we do break down further below last week, this week we are on an inside candle. So we might be hovering here. We might have consolidation for a couple of weeks before we see that further downward turn. We do have earnings coming up, right? That's going to influence the market as well. And we had the financial sector. Let's go ahead. I do have a watch list of the financial sector as well. XLF just went ahead and created that for us. So these are the top holdings grabbed right from etfdatabase.com. So right now, let's look XLF. Let's check out the health of how it looks on our weekly chart, right? All right, so we came down, bounced. Again, we had consolidation right here. Look, this is an old dark pool level, 1.6 million back here. We went above it. Yep, we went ahead and we saw great movement up to the upside. Tested up here, and then now we're coming back down. This is a level from back in March that we're testing right at the moment. If we break below this, we'll probably come back down and we'll test this level right down here of 221.91. So keep that level on watch. Go ahead, you guys can put it into your charts as a potential target. It's also gap fill to the downside if we break below here. Then if we break below 2090, watch out. We have this trend line right here it's up from a daily chart. Guess what? We might be pulling back even further. Dividends just came out this week as well. If the overall health of the financials are not good, the banks start to pull back, their earnings start to be reported lower. It could really pull back on not only the XLF, ETF, but also on the market as a whole. We will see as the earnings start coming in, we could have that bigger pullback. All right, so we talked about the SPY. Let's go back over here. We talked about the SPY, where we could go from here. I'll put it back on our daily chart. And I will, G-Man, I'll definitely check out Fastly for you as well. It's had that nice, great move to it. All right, so we're gonna go and look at the SPY. I'll zoom it in for us. So we've got it right here, right? I've got that H drawn. So we are at that 200 simple moving average, 301.67. We could close above it. We could have bullish moves coming for sure. We've had some crazy prints lately in the dark pool world. I will share one with you today, one. But we have so many and it's so awesome to see and it's very easy to profit. So if you guys also are interested in learning a little bit more about it, I'm going to do a webinar 9:30 next Friday when the market is closed. So remember, the market is closed July 3rd for the holiday. If anybody's interested in jumping on the computer at 9:30, come join me. I will put the link down below. Or you can shoot me an email at jane@cjanetrade.com and I'll go ahead and add you to the list so you get all the information there. So on our daily chart, this was a trend line way back from last May to June. And then this was earlier in the year. So we are below these highs. Those are the highs from last year, trend lines from the highs of last year before we had our reset correction at the beginning of this year. Right now we're pulling back. We are below them. We're hitting that 200 simple moving average. If we go ahead and we break above potentially right here, we've got going to have a resistance right around 308. If we do break above 308, we will likely test this upper limit of this trend line 311. If we break that, we'll potentially test 314 on up to 317, and then the low of this 318.96 up here. So that's my assessment. Either way on the SPY, we've got to see where it closes, right? We are midday. They could do anything that they want with this candle. They could bring it all the way back down here. We might go to 298 today. Or they could go ahead and they could pull it all the way back up and we could close up above here, above 306. They could bounce it all the way back up. Let's look at the big names. So Microsoft, #1 holding in the SPY. Where are we? Well, we've pulled below a trend line here. We could come back down and test this trend line. Also talking about trend lines, Trendspider is an awesome software if you guys want to try out auto trend line drawing software. So it's got an AI that draws the trend lines for you. Check it out. The link's below. They've got a great sale going on through July 6th. So we're down below the 4 EMA and we're sandwiched right now, right? We came down to the 15 and bounced. Look at the history of it. When do we go ahead? We bounced here, here, here. We've got buying volume for sure on Microsoft, but we've broken this trend line. What's our volume going to look like at the end of the day? If we go ahead and we continue with this trend line to the downside, we could come up and test it again on Monday, but for now we're in that downward trend. Let's see if we go ahead and we draw it right here. We've got a bit of a ascending triangle, descending triangle, a bit of a wedge, right? So, hey, we broke that wedge. Now it's up above. So we could oscillate here between the two. Like I said, we might have that sideways price action. So it came down, up, down, we might go up, test a high up here of 200, come back down, test a low down here of 196. We will see what happens in the week to come. Microsoft and Apple will help to show us what is going to happen with the market, right? So Apple, right? Apple, let's remove these lines here. Was a nice short off of my list this morning, and we're in a bit of a downward channel on our daily, right? So it dropped down below, brought it up. We're still above the moving averages. Our highest volume day was right here. Actually, it's back over here. So highest volume day was right here. We tested that with the bounce at the low of the day today. Have we gotten any prints? Let's see if we got any big prints on Apple today. We have seen some big prints coming in lately on major names. So let's see if we've had any that they snuck in. Nothing too abnormal. One at 276,000, right at open, roughly 364.38. So that's our biggest one right now, 364.38, pretty much right at that trend line, right? We go to our 45-minute chart. 360, let's put on 15 minutes so we can see the active trading session. Yeah, right there, right at the 15, basically, right here. So it went ahead and it did pull back from there. The biggest add today, and it looks like we have a bit of a double bottom right here, right? Every time we came down to 357, I want to go ahead and know, hey, are we going to drop below 357.40? Are we going to go ahead and close below that? I would feel definitely more bearish if we go ahead and we close below that. When I'm streaming, it takes a bit longer for crossing down. There we go. And there's the alert. It's set up for me, ready to go. If we break to the downside, I'll get that alert. That will likely go ahead and pull back. You can see, G-Man, I had Fastly on the list today as well. And let's go ahead and check it out. So Fastly, again, here's the list, right? Fastly below 81.70 or above 83.80, right? So it came up, hit it right here, pulled back to our 50 simple moving average on the 15-minute chart, and then look how it surged right at roughly 11 o'clock. Surged on up, and we are going to the upside today. Nice breakouts all time, right? Let's look at it on our yearly chart. ASIF, it doesn't show live buy and sell signals real time, but you can try it out for free for a week. Yeah, there's no cost. You guys can try for a week. All right. So right now, Fastly has broken out. We mentioned it on one of my Sunday watch lists that I go over. And we said, hey, we have this ascending triangle as a resistance area right here at 48.70. Look at that now. It's up $40 from there. And it's got a high rate of climb, right, for this trend line. Is this going to be sustainable? Likely not. However, if that breaks down, we could see it pull back potentially to this trend line for this upper trend here. It's getting a little overextended. The highest volume candlestick was right here. We are above that today. Full breakout zone on that today. So it is heading upwards. Don't be surprised if you see it pull back down again to that 84.50 area. Hey, G-Man, I can't tell you what to do, but you know, trailing stops are never a bad thing in my opinion. All right, so let's go look. Sono, I got an email from Citron yesterday, and this one had higher than normal volume. Citron, who's usually that short seller, said, hey, wait a second. Sono needs to be roughly $30 mark. I think that's partially where all of the volume came from. We also saw higher than normal volume on the 22nd of June, and we are above that. So next potential test levels back over here, 1545, and then 1578. You can see that held right here as well. Once it went above that, so let's go ahead, let's put an alert for 1580. When it crosses above 1580, that looks like it's going to be fairly strong if it crosses with higher than normal volume. All right, right there. We also have ALT. Now, ALT is a lower float stock. I do include some of those for those low float runners, people that love them. But you can also tell that it sometimes they will go and they will rip high and then pull back into the day. VXRT, we will look at that. ASIF, so I'll get to that. So ALT really just had a bit of a short on the day when it broke down right here. Other than that, it's breaking down below the 50 simple moving average right now. It could come back down. That second breakdown of this 1030 area, actually I'll go ahead and pull it back down here. You can see this 1015, 1012 area has really acted as support. So looking for it to break down from there and then potential move down to 960, even on down to 934. In this scenario, I would also add a fib retracement because many times, if you guys know of Jason Bonds, they like to go ahead and look at that 61% level for potential buy on up to the 50 for a little quick scalp right there. So you might see a bounce off of 977 for 50 cents up to 1022. All right, let's look at Bed Bath & Beyond as well today. So if it were to break down here, potential short, hey, look, we broke that level above and it had a nice move from 1020 up to roughly 1050. Nice move on the day, right? So you can see once these levels are broken, it goes back to reminiscence of a stock operator. Look for that higher probability trade when that level is broken. When it's broken with volume, then it's a potential trade to the upside. Boeing, my bearish below potential list today. It's in that downward trend. Came and it hit up here. Thanks, Asif. It's years of studying the market, Asif, and going forward and learning to study to be a charter market technician as well, which when you love the charts and you're passionate about something, it is not work. It's very enjoyable, and that's why I share it with everybody. So here we have a pullback, right? It went ahead, hit that 50 simple moving average, pulled down to 168. You can see the buyers stepped in, right? When you see that these wicks happen, the buyers step in, 169. Look at where we hit pre-market on the 25th, yesterday morning, right there. Did we have any buying? Let's see if we saw a print come in at that point. Well, the last print that I see for today, 173.07, and that was the opening print. So nothing major on Boeing as of yet. But if the airline sector overall, we kind of got to put the puzzle pieces together too, right? If the airline sector overall is not that healthy, they're getting bailed out, right? Who is going to be paying the leases for the airlines? And are they going to be able to move forward with buying new aircraft? right? So we've got to put everything together. Qantas just announced they're laying off 6,000 employees. You know, many of the major airlines are cutting back big time. It's like September 11th again. They're not in a healthy state, much like the banks are not in the healthiest state. So looking at all of that, looking at the growth, the potential for growth for a lot of these companies in the airline sector could be hurting. Nike had an announcement, boom, came back down. Not the best move there. Novavax. Any wonder that Novavax has pulled back? It's been doing so well. Now here's the thing with Novavax to be careful of. This candlestick right here, we are below it. If we go ahead and we close back down here near the 8th, we could see that this has a bigger downturn. Couple reasons why. World Health Organization came out and said another drug company is leading with the vaccines. A British company is testing everything in Brazil and Africa, the biggest hotspots right now for COVID. One of the major reasons why there was such a big move after earnings was, hey, Novavax got an incredible amount of funding from the government, from the FDA, to go ahead and move forward with COVID vaccine development. Well, if they're not the leader, much like many pharmaceutical companies, this could have a big pullback, right? So its potential to pull back is there. Maybe 59, 60 as a potential. Hey, if it breaks 60, I'm going to get out and lock my profits from there. But there's no guarantees when you put a stop in. Again, with pharmaceutical companies, if somebody else gets that, hey, first spot for COVID, this could really get hurt. So be careful out there. Not saying it's not going to go up to the moon, but it might have a downward turn. JP Morgan. JP Morgan had a pullback today. And again, this was one off of my list. You guys see, hey, if it breaks below 95.90, potential short. Well, nice $3 move to the downside right there. JP Morgan is number 2, I want to say, in XLF. Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway B shares are number 1. JP Morgan is number 2. So these two are really pulling that sector down overall for XLF. All right, let's go back over to the list. So United Airlines, last one, potential short on the list. You guys can see it's in that H pattern again, right? Here, we broke it, right? We broke it yesterday. It bounced up to the averages, lower risk, short, close to the averages right there. All right, so let's go ahead and you guys, if you have any stocks you want to look at, I do have roughly a couple more minutes of our time here today. So VXRT, let's check it out. VXRT. So VXRT, let's look at a 15-minute chart. Crazy volume after hours. Let's do this. Like I said, sometimes people are going to do this as well. Could potentially pull back to that 781 range. Look at that. It was also resistance for a while right here. It could pull all the way back down here and then a quick little bounce up to the 50 simple moving average from there. So I would watch if it breaks down below 958, in my opinion. If somebody was long in there, I would get out of that because it could quickly drop down. Again, how many shares are in VXRT? Oh, it doesn't show here. Let's go here. VXRT stock float. $73 million. So it's not too low float. It's not below 20 million. But I would still keep it on watch because it does have that big gap, so it could very quickly fill the gap down to $8.37, $8 range. ASIF been studying it since 2015, February of 2015, really studied day trading hardcore. All right, do you guys have any other stocks that you all would like to check out for today? And Zach and Mike, do you guys have any questions on your end from Ticker Tacker end? No questions right now. Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, if that is it, I don't have any more questions for today. We will go ahead and wrap it up. I would definitely look for SPY to break down below that 301.67, right? So we're about to test it right now. We're at 301.98, 301.67. And on the weekly, that 50 simple moving average is 362. So watching 362 as well. And we've got Gilt by G. Rios. All right, so Gilt, let's look at it on a 50 chart. ASIF, in my opinion, it could potentially fill that gap to the downside more quickly than to the upside. But you know what? I don't have the crystal ball or magic 8-ball for the market, so it could go either way. All right, so Gilt has this 200 simple moving average right here at 623. That might act as a roadblock. 627 potentially to the upside, and 633. To the downside, it might come down and find support right here around that 613, where it did have that breakout at around 1230 today. All right, Carpe Profit sees those profits one trade at a time. Shoot me your questions or emails over at jane@cjanetrade.com. If you would like to join me for my free webinar next Friday at 9:30 Eastern in the morning, just go ahead and shoot me an email and I will add you to the list over there and we will talk shop. Have a great weekend. Be safe, everybody. Bye.
The risk of loss in trading commodity interests can be substantial. You should therefore carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition, in considering whether to trade or to authorize someone else to trade for you. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.